podcast. My name is Molly Ruland. I am beyond excited about my guest today. She is one of the most impressive people I have ever witnessed in my entire life. She is bold. She is loud. She is powerful. She is strong. She is clear. She is concise, and she does all that without any anger that we can see anyway, and she does it all on the basis of love. And I just wish that one day I could be that powerful with my words and have everybody understand exactly what my intention is. I think that right now in this time of confusion and uncertainty, we all need a little light, at the end of the tunnel. We need something positive to hang on to. And let me just tell you, this is going to be a firestorm of positivity today. So without further ado, let me introduce LaTosha Brown. She is a Harvard professor. She is a co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Her resume goes on and on and on, but we're gonna get into that the right way. So please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome LaTosha Brown to the podcast.
Hi, Molly. How are you? I'm not quite a Harvard professor yet. I'm a fellow, but I do work over there.
Close enough,
But close enough.
Yeah, exactly. They don't even let me on the grounds at Harvard. You know what I mean? So I feel like,
But thank you for having me. I'm happy to see you.
You too.
And engage in this conversation with you.
Yeah, you too. It's always such a pleasure. We met so randomly, and so, thanks to Mark Zuckerberg and his spyware, you were talking about doing a podcast, and then Facebook served you an ad for Heartcast Media.
That's right.
And who knew when we talked on the phone that day, you knew who you were, but I didn't know who you were. But the moment I met you and talked to you, I just knew I liked you. And then when I got to learn who you are, I was like, holy shit, that woman is amazing. I can't believe that she stumbled into my life like that. How lucky am I? So, yeah, I'm just really thrilled to be here with you. And I can't thank you enough for taking time, because I know that you have a lot going on right now. So
I do, but let me say, I believe in divine partnerships.
Yeah.
That I had the same feeling when I met you. So, I mean, there are plenty of people that do different things, but I'm constantly looking. I've been really, really blessed that in my inner circle, I've had some really wonderful people. God has just brought some really great people in my life. And so I'm always looking for people who have, that we're in alignment around energy. Because I'm a love bug. So I'm always looking for other love bugs. Because I don't know if you remember, one of our first conversations was based on you and I both being love bugs.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm always looking for, you love like I love love. And so, through that process, and even watching and watching what you're doing, and I think this is such an important offering, that I really believe that storytelling was transformational.
100%.
I think we're even seeing, I just saw the coolest Nike ad that I've ever seen in my life. That is around COVID-19, and it's a split screen, and there are people in completely different backgrounds, some of them different races, some of them are different sports, and they show like the end of one and the beginning of the other. It is brilliant. But I feel the same way. I feel like, but what's powerful about it is that it is telling a story. And I think that that's part of the platform, even the platform you have, to really be able to help people tell their stories. I think that's profound. I believe that's how things are going to change. I think when we're too cerebral and we're just like in folks' head and we're just giving information and data, that's one thing. But when you actually touch the spirit of people, and most of the time we do that with our story, because we all can relate to that kind of that human connection. So I think that the work that you're doing is really, really important. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I love Heartcast Media because you're a love bug and you have a heart.
I do. It's a little cold sometimes, but we warm it up here and there. Well, I agree. I think that, listening is the revolution, right? If you listen to somebody, it makes it almost impossible to hate them, right? You might feel sorry for them. You might say, okay, now I really don't agree with you, but if you can't hate them if you see that human side, right?
You might not even like them. But if you're anything human in you, it's hard for you to hate them. Hate requires a whole lot of energy. Like there are people that I don't like. There are a lot of people that I don't like, but I literally cannot think of a single person that I hate.
Agreed.
That I would want harm to come to. And it's so funny because I hear people will say, I was really disappointed hearing some people today and seeing some social media about Herman Cain, who died from going to the Trump rally and died of COVID-19. It was like, that's what you get. I was like, so that's where you are?
So that's what we're celebrating?
So is that what we celebrating? We celebrating that this man who was a father, who was somebody's uncle, who was somebody's husband, is dead, right? And let's say he did make a bad mistake. Let's say he had no business, because I do think that I don't know why the hell he was following Trump, but let's say I disagree with that, right? Let's say all of those things. It was foolish to go to the event without a mask. Let's say all of those things. But at the end of the day, if I ever get to the point that I can't feel empathy for him, and I think, and I wish that, and I want, like, to told you so, then fundamentally I have become the very thing which I hate.
Agreed.
And so I'm never going to be that. So I'm really, I think we're in this space now that folks are damn mean. And it ain't just the Republicans either. No. People are mean. And so we've got to figure out a way, and I'm part of my mission, even in my work, Molly, is really around figuring out a way to remind people of their humanity and reconnecting them of the power of love. And love doesn't look like I got to agree with you all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, there's so much more power and strength in, like, disagreeing in a way that's civil, and understanding one another. It's, I mean, at this point, it's the only thing that's going to save us, right? That and voting.
Absolutely.
That and voting.
Molly, it's interesting. This is a little off the subject, but it's the same. It reminds me of this guy I used to date. I was dating this guy, and we had a wonderful relationship, but we had gone almost a year, I think. I said it was a couple of months, but the other day I remembered it was almost like a year. I can't remember it was that long. It never. Let's just say it was 6 months. I can't remember, but without having a single argument. And I was so proud of that. I was like, we got the perfect thing going on. There was no argument. And then so we had an argument, and it was about something simple. It wasn't like a blowout, but it was an argument, but we had never had an argument. And I was devastated. I was like, oh my God. I was like, my perfect relationship is over. I was like, we're out of the honeymoon phase. Oh my goodness. I was devastated. And I remember him coming in the room and him saying, like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm just, we just had an argument. He was like, yeah, now we're in a real relationship.
Oh.
And I was like, what do you mean? And then with what he meant, I took it one way, but what he meant was, and he said it, he said that what it means is we're finally at the place where there's enough trust that we can actually get real and have disagreement and be okay. Like, I'm not going anywhere, you're not going anywhere. And so, and it wasn't, and even our arguments weren't hurtful in that way. We just disagreed. But there was something, he was like, it is at this moment that we're testing the trust and it's building the texture in the relationship. I'm saying that because we've got this society that's so conflict adverse. We either go all the way and destroy, or we can't have any disagreement. When really the truth of the matter of human beings are, I don't even agree with myself all the damn time. Like, so how am I going to disagree with somebody else? I will change my mind and be like, oh yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't know what I was thinking. Right. My point is creating this space for us to be flawed human beings and really have the kind of empathy and love in our heart that we can still connect. And if any space needs that, this political space. So while I do this voting work, that I'm really even frustrated with how we've been seeing this political work. We deal with this political work like it's a football game. My team is going to win or your team is going to win, right? We're literally playing with people's lives. This ain't about no game. This is really around people's lives. And so I think part of us getting beyond the boxes of partisanship, getting beyond these ideas of we either got to be allies or enemies, that some of us are going to have to really get to the space that we can have truthful, honest conversations that are based in a vision of what is going to be best for humanity, and stop putting things like, I asked, someone said, well, yeah, because you're liberal. I said, I never told you I was a liberal. I was like, who told you I was a liberal? Right. And he was like, well, I mean, I just assumed. I was like, no, what you did is you made a decision that because I am a Black person, and I want certain things in my community, that's liberal. I was like, that ain't liberal, that's human. Right. Like, I want human beings to eat. Right. I want human beings to have housing. So you can call that, I don't, you can call that whatever you want to, but
Right.
I don't know any conservative people that don't want to eat or don't
Right.
want housing. So why is mine, me wanting that, you've labeled that as something else other than it is? I want poor people to eat. I want them to have housing, just like I want you to eat and have housing. So it's not around the label of that, it's around the
Right.
values. And so I think that we have to really start being careful about adopting that language. We have to start being really, really careful about how we frame this whole idea of who's conservative, who's liberal, who's Democratic, who's Republican. At the end of the day, who I want to work with? I want to work with who is human, who is truthful, who has integrity, who has love. That's who I want to work with.
Amen. I'm right behind you on that. I think I run into that a lot. People are, they're like, "Oh, liberal," and I'm like, "You don't know anything about my political
Right.
affiliation at all." Like, because I care about people, because I don't
Because I
want
care
police
about
to
people.
beat people up or kill people for no reason. Like, that makes me a liberal. Like, I thought it was we the people, right? I thought it was, us holding our government accountable. I mean, that's one thing I would really like to see, because I feel like the media has just gotten so skewed, and it's just so bad. And it's on both sides. It's not one side or the other, it's both sides. And I just feel like as Americans, we should be talking to each other and saying, what are they telling you? And what are they telling you? And then we should be comparing notes, and then we should be going back to the government and going, no. That's not what's going to go down. This is what
That's
you're
right.
going to do. Those are our tax dollars, right? And
That's
it's like you said, this is our country. You know what I mean?
that's right.
That's our money. We paid
That's
into
right.
this system our whole life. This isn't a handout. All those
That's right.
stimulus dollars that they gave to these giant corporations, those were our dollars. We're
Those
not
are our
asking
dollars.
for anything. We paid into
Right.
that,
We
you
paid
know?
into this is our money. Even the idea, the notion of you're giving people, we're gonna cut the $600 a week out because people won't go to work. That's our money. What are you
Right.
talking about? You
Right.
won't think twice about spending $1 billion on some warheads to kill people.
Right. And it's interesting too, because they're starting to say that it's not true about the $600 being an incentive for people to not go back to work. I don't understand where the disconnect is. People are afraid to go back to work. Are you
It's
going to
not
choose to put
safe.
yourself in the harm's way with interacting with the virus, or are you going to stay home? And they're trying to simplify it, saying that it's just the $600. No, people are afraid for their lives. People are
People
losing
are afraid
friends.
for their lives.
Yeah.
But let me say this, and because I do think that that's the majority of it too. But how many of them would not what the resources that they get would not determine what decisions they make?
Right.
People always think that poor folks supposed to sacrifice. You doggone Skippy. Like, why
Right.
would I not? Like, ultimately, here you are having these wealthy companies, and you're saying I need millions of dollars, but then you got the audacity to act like there's something unrighteous of working people who have been underpaid,
Right. Who built
having
these
money right now,
companies?
who built these companies. Give me a break. We have to start to reject all of that on the
Yeah.
notion, and ultimately this is our money and this is how we choose to use our money. And if we're in the wealthiest country that y'all love to brag on every 5 minutes, and you so wealthy that you can't take care of your people for 2 months.
2 months.
2 months. You couldn't even make it 2 months.
Right.
Something is fundamentally wrong with the management, or something is fundamentally wrong with the structure in this country, and something is fundamentally wrong with the values in this country. If
Agreed.
you are the wealthiest country in the world and you cannot, they even teach you in terms of financial management that you're
Right.
supposed to at least have 6 months
6
to a
months.
year savings.
That's what they say. They're like, oh,
Right?
they should have had 6 months. Well,
Y'all should
where's
have had 6
yours?
months or a
Mm-hmm.
year.
Mm-hmm.
So the bottom line is, it's really not a matter of the resources available. It's around priority, and it's around the political will. And we've got to really flip this thing and start operating like those folks that are in office, that we're all working for them. No, they work for us.
Right. Right.
What do you do when people don't do a good job? You fire them. They need to go.
And something that you say that I love is you say all politics are local.
All politics are local.
And that is such a powerful statement. I think people really overlook that. They get caught up in these giant elections and they don't even know who their ANC member is, or who their council member is, or the fact that you can vote in your sheriff, and all these things. And so what do you think is the next step as Americans? Because part of me feels like I'm glad that things are just getting more ridiculous every day, because I think more and more Americans are waking up every day. They're like, hold on, you know, because we're
Right.
not working all the time. We're not just in this hamster
That's
wheel.
right.
The hamster wheel stopped and we're looking around going, oh, this is not
It's not our
it,
time up.
right? And so and I think the worse it gets, the kind of, you know, and I don't want anybody to be hungry, I don't want any of that, but I just feel like the facade is being ripped off, right? It's like the Wizard of Oz. You think it's this big powerful machine, it's really just this angry little short dude behind the curtain, right? So
Absolutely.
what do we do next? I mean, I know you are mobilizing, and I love that you have the blackest bus in America. That's my favorite.
That's America.
One
I
day it'll
think
be back.
we got the blackest bus in America. I think that there's a couple of things that we have to do. I think one, there's short term and long term. You know, I think that there are two things. I think there's mobilization and then there's organization. I think mobilization, y'all, we are literally up against fascism. I can't fix it up. They don't want to say it. This is not a regular normal election. Democracy is being unraveled in front of our very eyes, that we have literally now have people who are leading this government that says we care more about the health of the stock market than the health of people. We have people that say, throw your children to school. All the children are immune. Don't worry about it, even though there's documented cases where children, while they're not dying at rates as high as older folks, there are children that are dying. Which one of those children do you want to be yours? And so fundamentally, we're in such this space that we've got to make a decision in the short term to do everything that we can to protect democracy right now. I think in the long term, though, it's not enough. I think in the long term, what we've got to do is we've got to start inching closer to the idealism around making America hold up to her values. We've got to make democracy be real. Not just a phrase that we like to say, not just a piece that we want to bring up when it's convenient for us, not a flag that we want to hide behind, because I've got flag stories, right? But ultimately, what we've got to do is we've got to have, and I always say this, you know, matter of fact, I'm gonna do this exercise with you real quick, Molly.
All
I'm
right.
gonna ask you to close your eyes.
Okay.
And the listeners that are listening to the podcast, I'm gonna ask them to close their eyes as well. And I'm going to ask you this question. I want you to hear the question. What would America look like without racism?
Real opportunity.
Open your eyes. What did you see? Could you see it? Were you having problems seeing it? Did you see some parts, not other parts? Like what, tell me what happened.
You know what I saw? I saw like not a farm, but just like land and people on it, just being, you know, existing and surviving and having food and being okay, and not a city and not smokestacks and not working, but like living together, you know, and having the same opportunity. Because I mean, people in this country just don't even understand. You know, I was recently stayed with a friend of mine's parents for about a week, and we were talking about, you know, we have different political affiliations, but you know, we were chatting. She welcomed me in her home, and we were talking about opportunity, and you know, it was kind of the conversation of pick yourself up by your bootstraps. And so I was like, well, are you familiar with privatized prisons? Are you familiar with, you know, the 13th Amendment? And she wasn't, right? And it's like, you know, wait, you know? And
Absolutely.
so that's an opportunity to teach somebody. And she was mortified and appalled. And she said, I've learned something today. Like, thank you. And it was a great moment. I think more people are starting to realize how, you know, this is not an equal nation. This is by design. This is very planned. And if all that was taken off and everybody lived in every neighborhood, like if every neighborhood was peppered with everybody, you know, and everybody had the same opportunities and the same grocery stores and the same, right? Then
what could it look like? What would it hurt for everybody to have the opportunity to be their best self? And there's this facade that people say, well, that opportunity exists. No, it doesn't. And nobody believes that, right? And so even those that say that lie don't believe it. If they did, they wouldn't do so much to oppress other people, right? And so the bottom line is, I asked that question because we got to hang out more there. We've got to hang out and have conversations of what is our radical reimagining of America. I always say that, right? Because we can't create something that we can't see. Exactly. And so there's nothing that's been created that hasn't been visualized first. And so we've got to start reimagining these systems that we know that are fundamentally racist and sexist and oppressive and homophobic, we've got to actually reimagine systems that actually value and center human life, that actually says you matter because you're a human being, not because of how much you make or where you come from or what kind of education, but you deserve the respect because of your humanity. And so we've got to shift that in a way that we can actually create the nation and the world that we want to see. But some of us are going to have to hang out in that space around reimagining and tearing down everything that we know that makes us feel comfortable, but really thinking about what do we replace that with? How can I do that better? Right? You know, it's kind of like Blockbuster and Netflix. If Blockbuster had really spent some time on thinking about how could the technology, the technology that Netflix uses, Blockbuster had access to that. Right? The only difference is Blockbuster was so attached to their model because their model had been successful at what their model was. Right? Let's be clear. I don't know if you all remember, but Blockbuster was on every corner in every city in America, right? And they delivered the same thing. What did Blockbuster do? They delivered home videos. You could go get home videos, pick them out, and go back to your home. Netflix was like, hey, you can do that, but guess what? You ain't even got to go nowhere. You can do it right from the convenience of your computer. I guarantee you there was somebody in Blockbuster saying, we know what works. Nobody's going to sign on to that. We know we got to stick with this. And as a result, Blockbuster no longer exists. Who was on the stock market. So here's a company that came out of nowhere. Like, who does not use Netflix now? So, and I'm not raising that in the context of just about the company. I'm raising it as an analogy around when old systems do not serve the needs of people, we've got to be creative. And so some of the same things we can deliver, but we deliver them in a way that is more just, more fair, more accessible, more convenient. If we're going in that route, imagine the possibilities of what we can create. So we've got to start hanging out in the possibility zone. That's what I want. I want us to let's hang out in the possibility zone.
I love that. I think, that's, visualization is everything. When you meditate, your mindset, you think of, you envision yourself in those places. And so maybe if we all meditated for a few moments a day on that, who knows what kind of actions we would take throughout our day to make that possible. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I feel like a lot of it starts with education, right? Like if everybody got the same education, I was reading a book recently and he said, if everybody had the same education, then people would be based on their merit instead of their opportunity. And we would have a much more capable nation, and we would have better, like the cream of the crop would be even better because it would be based on an equitable opportunity and not just lineage or endowments because your family's got a bunch of money. Imagine if we just gave the best brains the best education. Imagine, would this would be a greener country. This would be everything would change, right? And I think we're starting to see a little bit of that now with like
I do. I think we're going to have to, even that though, I do, Molly, I want to push us a little bit. I think we're going to have to reimagine all of that. And so what I mean by that is, I had actually started writing a poem years ago. I don't know what I did with the poem, but it was a poem that I wrote around what happens to genius in the hood. What happens to a artist that does not have an outlet? Like there, Michelangelo and Da Vinci's and all through, and Rembrandt's, all throughout communities, that the only difference is that they have not had the opportunity. And so and so there's a part of me that I want to experiment with a community, allowing people to be who they came to be, what they are naturally, their gifts. Some people will be very good at figuring out stuff. Like they're academically gifted. There's some people that are just masterful around the arts. I want them to do that and that to be valued, and for them to have their basic needs. I want people, and I'm not one of folks that think everybody needs to be rich. Part of the reason why we're obsessed with all of us getting rich, and all of us want to be rich, all of us, right? Part of the reason why all of us want to get rich is because we know that having wealth in a capitalist society creates a certain level of freedom. It creates a way that you get treated. It creates a certain level of security. But what if we literally had the basic needs met for folks. I'm not saying that you wouldn't have wealthy folks, because I don't think that, I do think that there's ebbs and flows, right? But I think that it would be a difference, because at the bottom line, I shouldn't have to be wealthy to be seen. I shouldn't have to be wealthy to have rights to be treated like a human being. I shouldn't have to be wealthy to live in a decent home, like in a nice, safe, quality home, or have quality education. Right. So the bottom line is, we've created this wealth gap, but we've also created this hierarchy of services of how we treat people based on wealth. And so I think we've got to reframe and rethink all of this. We've got to hang out, Molly.
I know.
In the possibility
zone. Possibility zone. I love it. That's a beautiful thing. So what should people be doing right now in this pre-election time? What's the most impactful things that people can be doing every day to make sure that we are on the, track to possibility zone? What is with this election coming up? I mean, I know with Black Voters Matter, you're doing so much mobilization, and I understand that you're not able to use the bus right now, but you're reaching more people by being virtual, so that's awesome. But what can we be doing? Because I know for myself, like, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed. We're all spending more time alone than most of us are used to, and so that means we're absorbing a lot more social media. So the amount of bad information and bad news and just bad juju coming in our mainframe every day is off the records, right? And a lot of people are feeling hopeless and sad. I mean, I'm gonna raise my hand. It's hard. I'm a social person, right? It's hard to not. This is why I love this conversation too, because I feel like I'm with you. So, but what can people do instead of feeling hopeless? Like, can they sign up to get people registered to vote? Like, what are some action items that we can do to help?
Let me just say, a couple of things. I'm gonna give 5 things. The first thing is, I need people just to take the time to breathe. Just stop and breathe. And I'm saying that, and I know that sounds, because I think part of it is we are overwhelmed right now. Right? We're like just dealing with so much stuff right now. And sometimes we need to at least be still. I feel like the universe is pointing, be still, y'all, be still. It's like, but no, but we want to work. Be still, y'all. Be like, oh no, we want to keep going. Everything is pointing to, like my grandmother would say, be your ass still, right? Like that everything is pointing that we should be still right now. And I'm raising that because I think we need to like really be still and get centered so that we can have clarity, right? This moment is actually an opportunity for us. Well, we're so busy fighting, like, I want to be out. I want to be out with the people, right? But really, this is really a real moment to get in alignment with some things that we've been running from. That's why it feels uncomfortable. It's a moment to get in alignment with our values and pay attention. And so the first thing I'm going to ask people to do is to stop and breathe and just pay attention. Just stop and breathe and pay attention, right? Just be. The second thing I'm going to ask folks to do is, this is the moment that, game on. You can't, like, you gotta come up out of the stands. Right. All of you put your jerseys on. We need everybody on the court. Game on. And what does that look like? That means that, one, let's start to make sure that you've done what you're supposed to do in terms of that you're registered to vote. If you don't know if you are or not, you can go to vote.org and really be able to check your status. I'll tell you where you're voting, your precinct. If you're not, then make sure that you register to vote. But you can't stop there, because we're building a team. We're building a movement. And so what you also, the third thing I'm gonna tell you to do is what we say is take 5. Take 5. And so in that process, what that means is there are oftentimes, we're so busy trying to change the world that we don't really think about changing where the opportunities exist right around us. There are people in your families. There are people that you have access to that you really can have some conversations, but it don't have to be conversations around just in the partisan context. It can be a conversation around values. What do I care about? Like, start having conversations with folks. You ain't even got to ask them what their political party, like, what do you really care about? Right. And so that we're finding common good and having some conversations around what really what's really needed. And so I think that that's really important, the transformational process and really being engaged in community around us. I can't even tell people, how valuable that is. The fourth thing is we got to hold some folks accountable. We got to get some power, y'all. So what does that mean? Is that right now when we're at home, take an hour a day, and I call it your power hour. And in your power hour, you should call. I don't care if you like them or not. You should be calling your either U.S. representative, your senator. If you go to vote.org, you can find out who your representatives are. We need to be calling them and every single day saying, what is happening in America? I am not happy with this. I don't like what is happening. I believe in democracy. It doesn't matter if they're for it, against it, or whatever. Everybody should be feeling some pressure right now. We need to put some fire under everybody right now. So you should take an hour of power each day to really be able to reach out to elected officials, make some phone calls, send some emails, just put some pressure on them. The fifth thing that I think is really important is that we're getting so much information. We're almost in information kind of overload that I know so many people that their opinions are shaped by headlines. They don't even read the articles. Like, you saw the headline and you didn't even read the article. And I can tell I asked you 2 questions and you don't know what the article is talking about. And so I'm raising that because I think it's really important for us to be an informed group of people. Part of the reason why there are folks in power right now, they've intentionally keep us ignorant. They intentionally tell us lies. They intentionally are confusing, because what they know is that most people are so overwhelmed with their day-to-day life and work and going forward that oftentimes we don't take the time to really pay attention to what's happening around us. And so I'm saying that in this moment, we've got to pay attention. We've got to spend some time reading outside. Make sure that you're checking your sources. Right. Don't forward anything that you haven't checked the source around it, right? Where are you getting your information from? And so I think that that's another thing. And then vote early, get people around you to vote early, but we need all hands on deck. There's no other way that I can say that, but we need folks to do their own part, to mobilize those folks around them, to put pressure on the folks who are in office right now. And literally, we have to make sure that when this election cycle, every time we talk to somebody, you should be asking, did you vote? Have you voted? Right? That we literally got to, it's almost like we've got to make a collective yell. It's like when you're at the pep rally at the, or you're at the pep rally at the football game. It might not even be a pep rally. We're in the middle of the game and your team is down and the cheerleaders like, we need you to yell. Why? Because what they know is if the crowd engages in that, it has a particular kind of impact on the players. That's what we need. We need a loud yell. We need collective voices being raised in this process if we really are to get to the other side in a way that's going to be healthy and safe for all of us.
Amazing. The power hour. I'm with it.
The power hour. Come on, let's do the power hour.
Why yell at people on social media when you can yell at your state representative?
Yell at your state representative. Yell at somebody that needs to be yelled at.
Exactly. Leave them poor people on Facebook alone.
That's right.
That is too funny. So tell me a little bit about Black Voters Matter. Is that something like, can we donate to that cause? Can we volunteer for that cause? Like, what do you need?
I'm gonna give it simple, y'all. It is simple. Black Voters Matter is a power building organization. We're in 11 states, most of them in the South and in Michigan and Pennsylvania. We focus primarily on Black voters. Our work is to mobilize and give money to grassroots groups who are on the front lines that are doing work. And so we always work with 150 to 200 organizations. You can follow us and find out more what we're doing. Go to our Facebook page, our Twitter, our Instagram. It's Black Voters MTR. If you go to our Facebook page, it's Black Voters Matter. You can follow me as Ms. LaTosha Brown, MS LaTosha Brown. We try to post a lot of stuff so you can actually see some of the work that we're doing. You can go to our website as well, blackvotersmatter.org. Donate, learn more about what we're doing. And you can also do that right from your cell phone. If you text We Matter to 797979, we got you locked in. We'll be able to send you updates and you can really keep track of what we're doing and what other opportunities like volunteering, to do text messages. Sometimes we have texting parties where people can text. We have virtual town halls that you can join. So just follow us, stay engaged, and we try to stay as open as possible because we know we try to make communications easy because right now it's a lot going on. So we try to make it where people can just kind of get to the information.
That's amazing. I love that you're using text stuff. That's really smart. That's really, really smart. Wow. Well, I mean, you were, I feel so grateful to know you. Seriously, every time I see you on social media, just see, I don't even know how you do it all, honestly. But I'm just so honored. And I've been so excited all week for this interview just because I wanted to see your face and catch up with you and share this
Absolutely.
information with everybody. I'll definitely make sure all of this is in the show notes. So when people are watching this, they can have access to all of this. And yeah, as the host of the show, please donate, please follow, please get involved. And like, you have my commitment. I'm down to volunteer. I'm in the South now. So,
All right,
you
you're in
know,
the South. That's right.
yeah,
I'll leave by saying, well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. We just got to hold on, y'all. When we decide that America is going to be different, it shall be different. And so all it takes is when we work together, we win. We just got to remember that. We just got to keep the hope. We just mighty rivers are filled drop by drop, and each and every one of us have a place to play. And literally, I do believe everything in my heart that love is transformative. So let's love a little harder,
yes,
right? Love actually corrected those that we love to, right?
yeah.
Love a little harder, love more. Always take a little time that we can really stand in a space of seeking, spreading love, and building power. So remember, Black voters matter.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much, LaTosha.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We really appreciate you checking out the Lower Third podcast. The greatest compliment that you could give this content would be to share it on LinkedIn and tag both me and LaTosha in it so we can engage and comment back. I'm excited. I hope this brought you some joy and some hope and some peace
Absolutely.
and a little extra love. And I'm gonna go meditate on the land of opportunity.
That's right.
So thank you again, and we'll see you all on the next one.
All right. Bye, Molly. Thank you.